Lady and Emma reached the door at the end of the hall. Lady cracked it open and took a peek at the other side. She breathed a huge sigh of relief. It's the main chamber of the tower. We're almost out. Emma pulled the door open and helped Lady balance as they walked into the chamber. The second they turned the corner out of the hall, a large, shadowy figure stood in front of them. Their gazes traveled up the length of its tattered robe and its bare skull. It grabbed Lady by the collar of her shirt and tossed her into a stone column. Emma ran back up the stairs as the Reaper specter followed, swinging its sai and knocking down statues. The specter held up its hand, and the rug beneath her began to roll like a wave, tripping her feet. She fell and turned. The Reaper swung its sai over its head, and Emma grabbed Rudra, raising it to block the attack. "Push harder," encouraged Rudra. A bullet struck the skull of the specter, shattering its jaw. Lady stood at the base of the column, guns pointed at the demon. Emma felt his attack weaken as he turned his attention to Lady. She grabbed Agni and swung the sword upward, knocking the sai back away from her. She stood up, wielding both swords. "Emma, run!" shouted Lady. Emma stood her ground as the Reaper attacked again. Everything started to come naturally to her. She defended herself with Rudra and counterattacked with Agni, knocking the specter against the wall, cracking the stones. The creature pulled itself from the concave hole it put in the wall and charged her again. Lady watched, surprised at how skilled Emma fought. "You know, I have to thank you," informed Dante. "Why is that?" asked Virgil. "I never wanted to accept what I was, but now that I've gotten a taste for what it's like to cross over, I feel much stronger than before." "How you've resisted the temptation for this long is a mystery," said Markham. Both Dante and Virgil were surprised to see him standing. "Surprised?" he asked. The floor of the chamber began to shift as it was raised high atop the tower. The small hole in the center of the floor opened larger once they reached the top. The three men watched as the sword of Sparda revealed itself from the hole, along with a beam of light that split the sky as the portal opened. Dante and Virgil looked at each other before both going for the sword. Arkham beat them to it, knocking Dante back with a punch to the chest and kicking Virgil, knocking him back onto his stomach. He grabbed the sword and felt the power pulse through him as the power of Sparda entered his body. The two brothers tried once more to take him on, but he was becoming increasingly more powerful. Emma swiped at the Reaper with both swords, cutting him in two and releasing a gust of fire and ice that passed through its body. The two halves of the specter hardened into carbon and burst into ash. She caught her breath and made her way down to Lady. "That was incredible," said Lady. "I know. I had no idea I could fight like that. Let's get out of here." They made their way down to the door and were greeted by Jester. "Leaving so soon? The fun is just beginning." He produced a long spiral staff that he slammed into the ground and transformed the entire room. They looked like they were inside of a music box. Carnival music could be heard resonating through the room. The walls were covered in mirrors, and they couldn't tell if the walls or floor was beginning to spin. "Now, let's begin." Arkham's body began to take a demonic shape as the power of Sparda transformed him. "Behold!" Virgil laughed. "Do you believe that?" "Not really. Our dad was way better looking. I mean, look at us," joked Dante. "That power doesn't belong to you. So why don't you save us all some time and hand it over?" Arkham laughed as the brothers challenged him. Even with the brothers working together, he was resilient in his efforts to fend them off. The two each landed a blow, but did very little damage and were becoming fatigued. They withdrew their efforts to regroup. "Even though his blood flows through your veins, you are no match for... Ugh! Yelled Arkham. "No!" The power was becoming too much for him to control as his body began to shift once again. His demon form began to ooze as they watched him become a blob of gelatinous tentacles. "Now's the time, brother," instructed Virgil. The two morphed into their demon form and gave it all they had. "I knew you couldn't be trusted," said Lady. "Boo-hoo," mocked the jester. "Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow?" he sang. "Who are you?" she said, taking aim and shooting, shattering a mirror as he vanished and reappeared behind them. Now, Mary, a good girl would never point a gun at her father." Jester shifted into Arkham and then back again. "If you're... then who did we follow in the tunnel?" asked Emma, who was once again feeling confused. "That too was me. The demonic text has shown me many ways to accrue power and manipulate the forces that be." "That same text manipulated you into killing your wife with beliefs of grandeur," pointed out Lady. "A small price to pay. Now stop being a party pooper, Mary, and let's have some fun." Out of each mirror stepped the reflection of Jester. There were 7 surrounding Lady and Emma, and with the spinning of the room, they became too disoriented to know which one was the real one. "First spiders, now clowns," said Lady, hating both. While Emma and Lady fought through the replicas of Jester in search of the real one, Dante and Virgil were gaining the upper hand on the bulbous glob. The final blow came as they each torpedoed their swords through the substance of power. They each grabbed the other's sword as they passed through and delivered one final strike as the power of Sparda dissipated, leaving Arkham to wither back into his human form, weaker than before. The sword, which reabsorbed the power again, fell to the ground, and the 2 halves of their amulets that unlocked its power separated. The brothers ran over, each grabbing their amulet. "Give it to me," demanded Virgil. "No," said Dante, fastening it back to his neck. "Mom gave me this, and I plan on keeping it. It is more than just a necklace. If you think I'm going to give you the only thing I have to remember Mom by, you're stupider than I thought. If you won't give it to me, then you leave me no choice but to take it. I'd like to see you try." The 2 brothers were tired, but their wills were strong. Virgil felt the power of Sparda belonged to them, but seeing how Dante denied any relation to his father, he felt the power was rightfully his. Dante knew his father had locked away his power for good reason, and as far as he was concerned, that was a good enough reason for him to keep it out of anyone's hands, including theirs. Virgil and Dante charged, swords in hand. Dante dropped down to his knees and slid, slicing Virgil across his abdomen. He fell to his knees and clenched his amulet. Dante rose to his feet and turned. A pool of blood was forming around Virgil as he chuckled. Lucky shot. The ground beneath them shook as the portal to the demon world began to close. "You better get going, or you'll never make it out," informed Virgil. Dante stepped closer. "Don't," he warned as he got to his feet and walked over to the hole where the portal had revealed the sword. "Stay," urged Dante. "This world isn't big enough for the both of us," smirked Virgil. "Besides, the demon world was Dad's home." Before Dante could react, Virgil fell back into the portal. Dante watched as his brother disappeared and the portal began to close. He grabbed his father's sword and headed out of the tower. Lady and Emma had eliminated all but one of the jesters. "And then there was one," joked Lady. The floor began to shake. "Uh-oh," said Jester. "Looks like you're too late." Lady shot him in the heart, and he fell to the floor, maniacally giggling. "You'll never get out now," he smiled. Emma walked over and picked up his staff. The spiral rings were moving just like the inside of the room. She broke it in half, and smoke was released. "No!" yelled Jester. "Yes," said Lady, as she stood above him and shot him between the eyes. The room transformed back into the chamber of the tower, and they escaped through the front door. "Wait, what about Dante?" asked Emma as she turned back. Lady grabbed her arm. "He can handle himself. Trust me. We have to get out of here." The two of them ran as the tower began to turn, corkscrewing its way back into the ground. Dirt and rubble traveled through the air as they put distance between themselves and Temeningru. As the dust began to settle, a sunken hole resided where the castle had emerged. "Dante," said Emma sorrowfully. "What took you guys so long?" he said from behind them. The two girls turned to see him standing behind them with his arms crossed. "I was just about to get milkshakes without you." Lady shook her head. "I don't believe you." "What?" "I think Lady believes a shower would be more appropriate than a milkshake," informed Emma. The two of them followed Lady and helped her home, which was only a couple of blocks from Dante's place. When they finally got back to his shop, he fixed the door the best he could and locked it again, while Emma went upstairs to shower. She placed Agni and Rudra down on his desk before heading upstairs. Emma had finished getting ready for bed and caught Dante just as he was leaving the bathroom, having showered. "Dante?" she called as she met him by the door. He was still wrapped in a towel. "What's up?" he asked. His body still had drops of water on his skin. "Is now a good time?" she asked. "Time for what?" he asked, confused. Emma gave him a kiss on the lips as she wrapped his arms around her waist, and he blushed. "Now's as good a time as any," he says, placing his hand on her lower back and kissing her while guiding her into the bedroom. Emma climbed onto the bed. Dante dropped his towel and followed, making his way between her legs as he massaged her breast and bit at her ear. His hands explored her body, finding her sweet spot. "Whatever it is you're doing, don't stop," she pled. "I guess you've never actually done this, have you?" he asked. She shook her head. "Well, you're in for quite a surprise," he warned. Dante was aware when it came to a girl experiencing sex for the first time, the expectation was usually romanticized and not what they expected. He placed himself against the warm opening of her body and made his entry. Emma dug her nails into him. "Ow!" she yelled. "It hurts! You don't fit!" "It's just for a minute," he said, holding her tight as she pushed and pulled, trying to get away. He slowly eased himself back, entering once again, more delicately, trying to ease the discomfort. "Is that better?" "Yes," she exhaled as her body became more relaxed through his motions. Dante felt electric as he continued on. Emma quickly caught on to the motions and moved with him. "What's happening?" she said, short of breath as her body began to tense up at the sensations flowing through her. "Don't fight it," whispered Dante, teasing her insides as she climaxed. "How do you feel?" "Wonderful." Emma was experiencing pure ecstasy. "What about you?" "I'm having the time of my life," he said with a mischievous smile. "But we're not done yet." Dante was surprised by Emma's strength as she pushed him onto his back and mounted him. She moaned as she eased onto him. "Are you ready?" She smiled confidently. Dante smiled, but his eyes quickly rolled into the back of his head once she started to move. "Damn," he panted. "Are you okay?" she asked, worried. "Yes, for God's sakes, keep going," he urged. Emma did just that, rocking back and forth and riding him until he was broken. "It's happening again," she called out. Dante could feel her body throbbing as she tightened around him and came. He rolled her onto her back and quickly pulled out before climaxing himself. Emma laid on the bed, brushing her hair away from her face, breathing hard. "What happened?" "The grand finale, sweetheart." "Did you enjoy yourself?" "Uh-huh," she said as she ran her finger down her chest to her navel. Dante watched as he grabbed his towel to clean up the mess held in his hand. She was entrancing in the light as it shone through the window. He climbed back on the bed beside her and placed his fingertips beside hers and finished tracing her abdomen down to the heat between her legs. He slid his fingers inside her, teasing her one last time. "Stay with me tonight?" she asked. "Sure thing, sweetheart." He removed his hand and pulled the sheets over her, wrapping his arms around her as she slept. Lady showed up the next morning. It didn't take much effort for her to get in since the door was barely on its hinges to begin with. She heard music playing from the jukebox and knocked loudly, further breaking the lock and opening the door. The lobby was empty, but she heard noises from upstairs. As she made her way closer to the bedroom, the sounds became more clear. "Oh yeah," moaned Dante. "Just like that." Lady threw open the door and was surprised to find Dante laying on the bed and Emma sitting on his back, massaging his shoulders. "Don't you know how to knock?" he asked. I thought... never mind. I came over to tell you Emma is more than welcome to stay at my place. I know you said... Never mind what I said. She can stay if she wants," he stated. Lady looked at Emma, waiting for a response. "I'll stay, but only if we can have milkshakes for breakfast, pizza for dinner, and sex every night." Lady wouldn't have believed it if she hadn't seen it. Dante's face turned almost as red as his favorite leather jacket. "Sweetheart, you've had me up until the last part." "Well, I'll be around. The portal was open for quite a while, and I've already seen signs of demonic activity." "Sounds like business will be booming," he said. "Sounds like you're going to be paying me back my $5,000, she reminded him.